Philadelphia's most important offensive free agent just got a lot harder to re-sign, leaving Howie Roseman with only a couple of options to shore up the tight end spot. Plus, while the latest offensive coaching staff moves are a mixed bag of really good and really bad, the latest on Lane Johnson and Brandon Graham that sounds like the band is about to get back together for one more ride. From Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. Philadelphia's complete gutting of their offensive coaching staff is finally complete. And while everyone is focused on the newcomers, a lot of people missed who's actually staying. With Sean Mannion, I think, making one great decision and one pretty bad one. Plus, why Jeff Stoutland's replacement is receiving a ton of, I'd say, unwarranted criticism, although somewhat fair, and why Howie's game plan for free agency next month is getting more complicated by the day. First, though, how about a second chance to enter the Jordan Spector Art Immortal Moments Big Dom signed unopened card here. You see, still sealed right there. If you want to win this bad boy, you see it on your screen right now. Go down below, be subscribed, key factor there, drop a like, and why don't you comment Big Dom? The winner of this bad boy is announced on the next video. Now, first and foremost, and we're still awaiting Lane Johnson's official decision to return or retire in 2026, although he dropped a little hint that everybody missed on Instagram the other day with a story from his local gym that showed him banned trap bar deadlifting 655 for 5 reps. And while personally, that weight would make my spine likely explode, the fact that Lane is lifting that much tells me A, his foot must be feeling pretty good, and B, would he really be training this much if he was just about to retire? Plus, then there's Adam Schefter on The Fanatic this morning saying, quote, I do expect Lane Johnson will be back. I've heard that Landon Dickerson's conversation, potential retirement, I don't know how real it is or isn't, but I'd be surprised if Lane Johnson isn't back. I don't know as much about Landon Dickerson. Now, of course, all speculation, Lane Johnson could still retire, but sure sounds like he's definitely going to be coming back. At least we're trending in that direction. I know Eagle fans are desperate for good news there, and so I thought I'd start today's show with the good instead of the bad. Sure sounds like Lane Johnson is going to come back. Which I guess, speaking of coming back, more good news here. Brandon Graham was also on his podcast the other day, and when asked about returning for one more final season, he said, quote, if Howie makes the call, I'm coming back. One more. Clearly, Brandon Graham thinks he still has a lot left in the tank, and I think his numbers in that little stretch, mainly the Raider game, prove he definitely can on a limited basis. My only question is, does Howie Roseman want him back? He would be cheap, and that's good news there. They don't have a ton of free cap space. We'll talk about that in a second. But they also have to make a decision on Jalen Phillips. Matt Crosby is looming. Do they need the roster spot for a rookie? Who knows? But it is good to know that Brandon Graham wants to come back if Philadelphia wants to have him back in Philadelphia. Now, staying with the news of people staying and maybe people going as well, it does appear we have two key coaches who have successfully survived the great offensive reset of 2026. Jeff McClain announced last night that both running backs coach Jemal Singleton and wide receiver coach Aaron Moorehead will return for the football team this coming fall. Now, quickly on Singleton first, he's widely loved by a lot of Eagle fans and also has a lot of great reputation with the running backs in Philadelphia, and honestly has molded quite a few successful ones to boot. Now, Saquon's the easy back to point to because he's a superstar, but I don't think Singleton made him into the running back he is today. I would, though, argue about the emergence of a guy like Kenny Gainwell the past few seasons under Singleton before signing with the Steelers, and actually this past year being voted the Pittsburgh Steelers team MVP of 2025. Plus Tank Bigsby, he got traded over here, integrated really well. I thought he was fantastic when they chose to use him. And even Will Shipley, I thought he played well, limited number of snaps, but he's definitely improved from where he was as a rookie. When Sean Mannion started firing people or Philadelphia let people go on the offensive coaching staff, I was hoping that Singleton would stay. It appears he is. I think that's great news for Philadelphia's running back room entering 2026. Also, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Bear Mattress. If you were like me and looking to upgrade your sleep, well, trust me, Bear Mattress is 100% the way to go. Because I personally have been learning firsthand the absolute importance of a good night's sleep since my wife and I now have a 3-month-old baby and she does not sleep through the night. We've had our Bear mattress for about 6 months now, and this season of life, again, we love our baby, but at nighttime, when I actually do get to close my eyes because she's also sleeping, it has been an absolute dream. Bear is a premium fiberglass-free mattress designed specifically to improve your sleep quality, and their sleep quiz makes it incredibly easy to find your perfect match. I took it myself and Bear matches with the Elite Hybrid, which has been perfect for our sleep styles. And what I personally love most is the actual quality of sleep that we get whenever we actually do get sleep right now. And it's all thanks to their sleep recovery technology that keeps us cool when we're jumping in and out of bed hour after hour every single night. And it's not just me, as Bear recently surveyed over 300 customers and 82% reported a noticeable improvement in their sleep quality, 95% saying they'd recommend it to a friend. They also deliver it right to your door, super easy, free shipping in the US, and you get a 120-night sleep trial to test it out risk-free, limited lifetime warranty, and they even have flexible financing and payment plans. So head to bearmattress.com/Thomas Mott, use my promo code Thomas Mott as well, and get 40% off your Bear mattress. Trust me, you might not have a baby like my wife and I do, but you do not want to miss out on this great night's sleep. Give it a try. It'll all be linked down below. The controversial move, though, was the keeping of wide receivers coach Aaron Moorehead, who, whether rightfully so or not, has received a ton, and I mean a ton of flack on Twitter over the past couple of months as a guy who oversaw a receiver room that clearly regressed in 2025. They were bad in run blocking, had a lot of penalties, and overall execution was below subpar. Moorehead, like Singleton, has been in Philadelphia for a long time now, but I think unlike Singleton, and why he gets a lot of criticism here, is that you kind of don't have a list of young up-and-coming wide receivers that he has clearly groomed to be the next great pass catchers in Philadelphia. I mean, just like Saquon, take away AJ and Smitty, two guys who would be successful if I was the wide receiver coach, and what wide receivers has Moorehead successfully molded the past couple of seasons? I mean, Jahan Dotson, he's become irrelevant the past 2 years. Whether it's his fault or not, who knows? Johnny Wilson's only strength has been run blocking. He is not a pass catcher at all. And I guess Darius Cooper is maybe the one guy to look at here, but it's way too early to know if DC is a future starter or not. And there is now a real chance that A.J. Brown is gone from this room in a couple of months. I hope he's not, but who knows? And that means it's going to be up to Moorehead to make sure the best of the rest is ready to roll. Whether we like it or not, Nick Sirianni thinks he's up for the task. Myself and a lot of you guys, though, are a little bit worried. Again, it's hard for me and you guys to know as well just how much of the blame you put on Aaron Moorehead here in 2025, but he's coming back, and my only hope is it is the right move, and this wide receiver room from top to bottom gets better going into 2026. Last, though, on the coaching front, and certainly not least, but you probably saw this a couple of days ago as Jeff Stellan's replacement has been named, and former Viking offensive line coach Chris Kuper, which immediately your first thought might be the Eagles-Vikings Carson Wentz game from a couple of months ago. If you remember that game, you're probably not that thrilled about this move for the Birds' offensive line. And while I'm not going to try and convince you that Cooper is way better than Jeff Stoutland, I do think the fact he had to use 25 different offensive line combinations last season is worth pointing out. Plus, we were all complaining about the Philadelphia offensive line this past season under Jeff Stoutland. Now that he's gone, former colleague of Sean Mannion is in, and my hope is he at least has some success. Cooper was technically a rising star in the National Football League as an offensive line coach in 2022 and 2023 when he crossed paths with Sean Mannion in Minnesota, and a lot of people thought he'd be a future offensive coordinator or maybe a future head coach, but he's had some pretty rough offensive lines the past 2 years, but mainly due to the fact they've had uneven play, but a ton of injuries as well. That Viking offensive line has been severely banged up, and so I'm not saying that I love the move. I didn't really know what the guy was until I researched him when Philadelphia made the move, but everyone is ripping this as like a terrible downgrade, when in reality, it's like Sean Mannion and any new offensive-minded head coach that you bring in or offensive-minded coordinator you bring in, we won't know until we actually see the product, and so I'm going to give Cooper the benefit of the doubt. I do, though, really like this clip from a Vikings beat writer on PHLY the other day, saying that a fresh start for Cooper is just what the doctor ordered.
The Vikings offensive line over the last 4 years has been terrible. I mean, I think that's the easiest way to begin and frame it. Now, how much of that is a result of Chris Kuper? It gets murky when you're trying to evaluate and analyze things. And I think, as you guys know very well, fan bases are often looking to someone to point to and blame things for. And so I'm really personally fascinated to see when you plug Chris Kuper into an entirely different environment with different players, a different scheme, different personalities, like what will it look like? Like, I'll say this about Chris Kuper. He was very respected by the players. Kevin O'Connell really liked him for a long time. I mean, for multiple years, he sung his praises. And then his contract ran out at the end of this season, and it was pretty clear that they were going to move on. Now, that's a kind of a rosier view. I'd say the reason you see a lot of those thumbnails is because the pass protection has just been pretty putrid. And there were a lot of changes made on the offensive line, different guards, a different center, tackles in and out. There's a lot of factors at play. But in the end, if Chris Kuper was an offensive line coach at the level of Jeff Stoutland, he would still be here for a team that needs the offensive line to be much better into 2026.
Now, staying with the offensive line, or at least part of it, and one of the main problems Philadelphia had, besides the blocking up front from the linemen last year, was terrible tight end play from everybody not named Dallas Goedert. Although that has led a lot of people to forget that Dallas Goedert is a free agent coming up here in really a month from today, and he is easily Philadelphia's trickiest free agent of the entire offseason. Besides maybe Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert is the only other key offensive player who's going to be a free agent that Philadelphia fans should go ahead and worry about. And unlike Jahan Dotson, the contract Goedert's on right now is going to make things very, very difficult for Howie Roseman in the coming month. If the Eagles simply let Goedert's contract void, aka he walks away in free agency, he will cost them $20.5 million this season against the Birds' dead cap. The other solution is to re-sign Dallas Goedert and spread that dead cap money over multiple years, which sounds easy, that would work, except Goedert is entering his age 30 season, and his agent surely knows that Philadelphia is going to be handcuffed and will demand a much higher price in order to keep Goedert in Philadelphia. And it's tough because technically, on paper, Dallas Goedert was the Birds' best and most explosive offensive weapon in 2025. And he also, the big knock on him was his health. He stayed pretty darn healthy this past season as well. But I think a lot of Bird fans, knowing that Dallas Goedert is a free agent, were just like, oh, we'll draft a tight end high in the NFL draft. Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, just go get him. Let Goedert go, it'll be fine. But again, the way the dead cap money is structured, if you let Dallas Goedert go, it means a pretty darn big dead cap hit. And that means I think Sadiq is probably a lot less likely. I do wonder, though, if Browns tight end David Njoku could be an option for the Eagles on the free agent market. He did just announce he will test free agency and not re-sign with the Browns on his Instagram a couple of days ago. And while he's only a year younger, or about half a year younger than Goedert, his stats were way below the Birds' tight end, thanks to Harold Fannin this past season, meaning he'd be a much cheaper option the Eagles could then pair with a later round drafted rookie tight end if they were to go ahead and eat the dead cap money and let Goedert walk. And so while everyone is focused on defensive free agents, Jalen Phillips this, Nakobe Dean that, the trickiest internal re-signing is going to be Dallas Goedert because they need to save dev cap money, but they probably don't want to because of his age and the price. I don't know. We will see. Howie Roseman has his work cut out for him, but this is definitely one to keep an eye on because let's say they lose A.J. Brown in the coming months. I hope not, but let's just say, are they then going to also let Dallas Goedert go? That'd be two major pass-catching threats gone. I don't know. It's going to be tough. Give me your thoughts down below. Either way, we will find out soon enough. Free agency is 1 month from today. I still am mesmerized by Philadelphia's offensive changes they've been making the past couple of weeks because every single time I hear a current Eagle player talk about Sean Mannion, like BG did on PHLY, it gets me pretty darn excited.
I am excited for them Birds this year. I think that us getting that coordinator, I mean, a lot of people don't know just yet. But I know that from what I hear from other people, other guys that I've talked to on the Packers, man, they have said we got a steal, and so I can't wait to see just everything just come together with the relationship building over these next 6 months, and just making sure that somebody that's gonna come in and command and get everybody excited. And it sounds to me like everybody is excited. Just optimistic. Just can't wait to see exactly what it just how this team's going to look in 2026, because you don't know, it's a lot of retirement talks and all these different things. But what I see is I seen Lane working out. He's looking good. I seen him post a couple pictures, so I ain't too worried about Lane. But I know that as it get closer, people's gonna the final roster will be known very soon once the draft come up.
Finally, another Super Bowl, it's over. Of course, the Eagles weren't in it, so honestly, who really cares? But the fact that I've seen so many media outlets and Twitter rankings having the 2025 Seattle Seahawks defense over our Birds in 2024, oh my gosh, I have to address this because it is absolutely insane. Seattle gave up 27 points to the Rams in the round prior, the NFC Championship game, whereas Philadelphia, in that same NFC Championship game, absolutely destroyed the Commanders 1 week prior to the Super Bowl. Plus, then there's this little fact that Seattle blitzed a ton to get second-year shell-shock quarterback Drake May on the ground in said Super Bowl, whereas Vic Fangio, playing against Patrick Mahomes of all people, blitzed 0 times the entire game, and Mahomes and the Chiefs were unable to cross the 50-yard line until late in the third. I'm not trying to argue Seattle's dark side defense wasn't great this year. They were. They had an incredible season. They're fantastic. But the 2024 Eagle defensive unit, especially in the playoffs, to me, is one of the best units I've seen in my entire life. And if they would have matched up, say, in an NFC Championship game versus Sam Darnold this past season, they would have probably had that Seattle offense in hell for 4 quarters. Again, it wasn't Drake May. It wasn't this Patriot offense that had very few weapons and looked completely out of their league in a Super Bowl. It was Patrick Mahomes. It was Andy Reid with 2 weeks, and Vic Fangio put the absolute BTA. It was a just bloodbath from the start. Don't let any Seattle Seahawks fans or ESPN fans try and tell you that Philadelphia's defense was good, but it wasn't as good as Seattle's defense. That is recency bias. What they did in 2024 is going to be hard to duplicate ever again. Now, of course, plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. Trying to do 3 videos a week right now while the news is a little bit less. However, I will say this. At the end of February, basically starting next week, the free agent rumors are going to explode. We're going to start to get hints of who Philadelphia is looking at, who they might want, this and that. It's going to be crazy. So go ahead and subscribe and support the channel by watching and dropping a like. Also, comment down below to get your big dumb entry in. We'll see what happens. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.